Hey, welcome back to another video. So, if you watched my last video, then you know that I just recently got a PB in Minecraft speedrunning of 37 minutes and 37 seconds. You should definitely go watch that video if you haven't already, by the way. But obviously, since I'm new to speedrunning, there were a bunch of fails along the way. So I decided to keep some of those fails, and now we're going to go back and look at them to see what made me lose. So, without any further ado, let's go. The first seed started out pretty normal. I saw a village way in the distance, so I just decided to go run to it, cause why not? After about 4 minutes of getting loot from the village, I decided to run back to the desert I spawned near, cause I figured there might be a good chance I'd find a lava pool there. And as it turns out, I was right, and there was a lava pool right next to where I spawned, so I was in the nether at about 7 minutes. After navigating some not-so-ideal terrain, with a bunch of mobs getting in my way at the same time, I eventually did find the bastion. I also decided to go make a gold helmet just for safety, and after having a close encounter with this magma cube here, I stumbled right into the place where I needed to be in this stable's bastion. So I did a fairly standard route for it, and I was out at about 17 minutes. Not terrible, but not great either. So now I was off to the fortress, and it took a while because once again the terrain was terrible and I just had to dig through a big wall, but I eventually found it. So I grabbed 6 blaze rods after a very long struggle, and only then did I realize that I only had 8 obsidian, and I didn't know where my home portal was. Uh-oh. So in a desperate attempt to salvage the run, I decided to go back to the bastion and see if I could find just 2 more obsidian. And spoiler alert, I didn't, but I ended up falling in lava anyway, so it doesn't matter. The next run starts with a near-death jump off a cliff, but luckily I hit the water, and I eventually spotted 2 shipwrecks in the distance. So I looted both of them and got just enough iron to make it into a nearby magma ravine and build my portal. And I also found some diamonds down there, which is nice because diamond pickaxes are pretty nice to have. The nether spawn wasn't great. I was kind of trapped in a little ravine and had to dig a bunch, and I inconveniently ran into some lava in the wall as well. But it's fine because I had a little bit of food on me and I almost killed myself there, but that's fine. I did eventually stumble my way into the bastion, which happened to be stables again, but things weren't looking good. I didn't have any armor, I was low on food, and this poison from the suspicious stew was just icing on the cake. I ended up left on half a heart with no food left, and anything could have killed me at any moment, like this piglin right here. But, lucky for me, I found some pork chops in this chest. I was saved. After that whole fiasco, I started trying to trade, but I never actually found where the route started, which makes me think that this was actually a bridge and not stables, but I found a couple gold blocks in the chest, so I just traded those. After getting some surprisingly good trades, I decided to leave, and oh, did I mention that the fortress was right next to the bastion? Well, that's great, I can't mess this up now. I threw a pearl into the ceiling and didn't have fire res, so I died. A moment of silence for my stupidity. Alright, moment over. The next fail was actually only a couple seeds after that one, so you can tell where my mood was in this run. But I spawned right inside a village next to a house, which was a great start, so I'll take it. Once I was done in said village, I looked around a little bit and actually found a completable ruined portal, so I was into the nether at around 5 minutes. And lucky for me, I spawned right by the fortress. Yay! Now, most good runners would start with the fortress and then go to the bastion later, but I like to have fire resistance when I was doing the fortress, so I left to go look for the bastion instead. The bastion was actually pretty hard to find because the terrain was kind of weird and I was confused about where it was, but I eventually stumbled across it. And it was another stables bastion. I'm starting to notice the theme here. Unfortunately, it was double bad gap, but once again, I got really lucky and found a couple gold blocks in chests, as well as the one I got from the ruined portal, and eventually I got just enough pearls to leave. So I made my way back to the fortress, which was pretty standard. I had okay luck on the rods, and then I left to build my portal. I found the stronghold after not too long, and then my nav was just absolutely terrible in it, but I had a reason for it. See, I didn't mention earlier, but I only got about 30 string from the bastion, and I didn't pick up any beds in the village for some reason. And I don't really trust myself to do it with 3 beds, so I needed more string, so I was looking for the library. I eventually found it, but it didn't have nearly enough string, so I was only into the end with 4 beds, which was not looking good. And I'm sure you can imagine what happened. I went in for the 1 cycle, and I just didn't get enough damage. But to be fair, look at how close it was. If my first and last bed were any better, I could have at least finished it off with my axe, but unfortunately that didn't happen. And the next run was, once again, only a few seeds later. Wow, I just had terrible luck this day, I guess. Anyway, after a pretty slow start, I found a shipwreck and a village, and that was enough to get me food and iron, and then I dug down into a magma ravine and made my portal. And right when I got into the nether, as conveniently as it might seem, while I was looking around to find the bastion using E-ray, I looked up and the fortress was just right there. But as good as that spawn may have seemed, the bastion was way too far away, and once again, I don't like doing fort first, so I just gave up. Probably should have kept going, but oh well. The next run was off to a pretty promising start because I spawned right next to a village which actually had a blacksmith in it and gave me just enough iron to where I didn't have to do COD strats. There was also another village nearby, so even if I didn't have that blacksmith, I hopefully would have gotten enough from the 2 iron golems anyway. But I did end up stopping in that village too, because you can never have enough iron. I then built my portal in a lava pool nearby, but I didn't have any gravel, so I had to run a whole marathon to go find some in a cave. But I eventually made it into the nether, and by the looks of the E-counter, a bastion might have... Is that another fortress right by my spawn? That's like the 3rd time this video. How does this keep happening to me? But once again, I wanted to do the bastion first, so I got to digging because it was through a wall. But eventually I just gave up because I was never going to find it, and when I looked in spectator mode, yeah, I was right. It was really far away. And there was also another fortress right there, so I got 2 fortresses and a bastion right near my spawn. And now for the final full run we'll be doing today, and it's a doozy, so I guess prepare yourself. I spawned in a village just like every other run, except this time I actually grabbed beds, so I'm not as dumb as before. It luckily didn't take me too long to get out of the village, and I was on the ocean at about 4 minutes looking for a magma ravine, because I really didn't have hope finding a lava pool. And I eventually did find that magma ravine, but it was like a half fake one, or at least it was just 1 layer of lava at the bottom, so it took me a while to actually finish the portal, but I got it done in the end, so I guess that's all that matters. And lucky me, right when I spawned to the nether, I saw that I was over a lava pit, and I had no blocks, so it's not looking good so far. But I guess the bright side was I could see the bastion from where I stood. This time it was a bridge, so I guess we're out of the stables loop. But luckily I had just enough blocks to make it to some nearby land, and yes, that is the fortress over there, because apparently every one of these seeds was just the best seed you ever seen, but I just suck at the game. So I mined some extra netherrack so I would have some building blocks, because I was going to have to build up to the gold on the bastion. And then a series of very unfortunate events unfolded right in front of me, and I'll just let you watch. So I just start bridging up, pretty normal. I have enough blocks to get up there, so I'm just going for it. And then, out of nowhere, a dude with a crossbow shows up, but I avoid him. I'm almost there, and then, uh-oh, there's a hoglin, and I don't have lava, so he almost shoots me off to my death, but I luckily clutched the block. I don't know how that happened, but I had to be careful, because the dude with the crossbow was right there, and, yeah, he got the shot, and I fell to my death. That was just unfortunate for everyone here. And I lied. I actually have one extra clip I want to show just because I thought it was really funny, so here we go. So it was a pretty average seed. I spawned in a village, and then I entered the nether at around 7 minutes, and it was a pretty bad nether spawn, but I had a bastion, so I decided to play it out. I eventually spotted the bastion, but it was over a lava pool, so I mined out a tree so I could have some extra blocks. So I began bridging, and I actually speed bridged a little bit. It wasn't super fast, but it doesn't even matter because a single strand of lava fell down from the roof, and in my surprised state, I just walked off the bridge, which finished me off. And yes, when I say single strand of lava, I mean it. It was a 1 block pool of lava. I blame the bastion for being over a lava lake.